Hey guys, it's Charles. I'm here with Starter Gaming. Here to make just this little quick video for you guys. This will be a quick Protection Warrior guide for 5.0.4, and I will continue to make new videos for both Protection and Fury rather when we hit level 90 and everything else. This is just a quick little video to tell you about, rotation, glyphs, and gem and stat priorities. Let's just jump right into it. As you can see right now, my defensive stats are 45.5k armor, 12.06% dodge, 26.25% parry, and 25.37% block. Expect those to change once we hit 90. We will be trying to go for the same stat priority that we've been going for. Equal amounts of dodge and parry, and trying to get our mastery and stam as high as possible. Right now I'm pretty much almost full best in slot for tanking, but everything's subject to change here in 9 days because Miss Pandaria will be coming out on the 25th, and it's already the 16th. So we got 9 days before Miss Pandaria, so everything is subject to change. Right now my parry is way above my dodge, but that's only because I've got about 19% dodge once my Resolve of Undying procs, and even more, about 24% parry when my Windwalker procs. So, yeah. That's pretty much the stat priority. We're going to want the same amount of dodge, parry. Yeah, same amount of dodge and parry. We're going to want to get our block as high as possible and our stam as high as possible. Reforges, as I said, try and get that mix of good parry, dodge, and stuff like that. Gem priority will be stam for our blues, mastery stam for reds, or even straight up strength, which I'm starting to do now in my reds, and mastery for our yellow. Straight up mastery, 50 mastery or 40 mastery gems for yellow. That is, that's it on that part. Single target rotation for tanking. It's going to be using your Devastate as often as possible, Shield Slam, and Revenge as much as possible, as well as keeping your Thunderclap passive procced on targets, because it does proc the Weaken Blow, which is the demoralizing shout. And that will also put, our deep wounds on everything, which that is pretty helpful. But, yeah, that's going to be our single target rotation, and using Dragon Roar as much as possible if you didn't talent into Shockwave. I didn't talent into Shockwave because, as far as I am aware, it's still buggy and can still miss bosses and everything else, whereas Dragon Roar, I pretty much know it's always going to hit, and it's always going to be a guaranteed crit and ignore armor. So that's pretty much the single target rotation. As far as shield block and shield barrier, I've had my shield barrier proc up to 50,000 absorbed, which that is about a boss hit and a half for early stages of a boss fight. So it's really personal preference on shield barrier versus shield block. I would say if there's going to be that one big hit followed by a few small hits, go ahead and pop your shield barrier. But if there's going to be a stream of really big hits, go ahead and pop shield block, because that's just use personal what's the word I'm looking for here? Use your personal discretion on that one. As I said, I would use shield barrier before shield block, but again, it varies from situation to situation. Also use our Deadly Calm as much as possible and Heroic Strike as much as possible, for both single target and multi-target. If we're going to be using Deadly Calm for multi-target, go ahead, spam your cleave as much as possible, because, just as normal before, the 5.0.4 patch, cleave will still help us generate that AoE threat we can still use. So go ahead and use your Thunderclap for AoE as well, Dragon Roar, tab target, Devastate, tab target, Shield Slam, all of that fun jazz. As far as shouts go, you can use your Commanding Shout if you need the attack power buff, or you can use Commanding Shout if you need the stam buff. Just be forewarned though that the Commanding Shout does not override Power Word Fortitude, but it will still give you the rage like it did previously. So, that one's up to you. As far as glyphs are concerned, you're going to be using your Heavy Repercussions, Hold the Line, and once we hit level 90, you're going to be using Insight, but for right now, I'm using Death from Above because I do still Rogue Leap into groups of mobs and everything for just some starter AoE threat. Minor glyphs, it doesn't matter. Go ahead, do whatever with those. And talent, we're going to go ahead and the first tier, that's up to you. The second tier, I went with Second Wind because of the health regen it gives me below 35%. The third tier, I chose Disruptive Shot because, yeah, it's just whatever. I felt that was going to be more useful PvE-wise versus PvP. I could be wrong, though, because stuff can still be interrupted in PvE. For the fourth tier, I went ahead and got Dragon Roar because I believe I already said this. I believe Shockwave is still glitchy, and I just don't foresee myself using Blade Storm as a tank with one-hander and shield. I don't really find it that useful. I mean, we still can be we can still dodge, block, and parry while we are Blade Storming. That's pretty good, but I don't foresee doing more damage than Dragon Roar or doing more threat than Dragon Roar or Shockwave. For what is it, the fifth tier? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, the fifth tier, I chose Vigilance versus Safeguard because it was really personal preference. I like the fact that I can go ahead and pop Vigilance on anybody, reduce the damage they're taking by 30%, and transfer it over to me, because when I'm tanking, that does help with Vengeance and everything else. And, yeah, it was just personal preference. I would go with Safeguard, though, if you're going to be in a fight that requires high mobility and stuff like that. And for level 90, I foresee us getting either Avatar or Starbolt. I will make another video talking more about that. For Starbolt, at least, I can foresee that being a really, really high threat gen on bosses, let's say. Because that'll do 400% weapon damage onto a boss. That has a ton of threat right out the get-go. And that'll make sure that they stick on us for, those first few seconds at least, while those bursty classes like a Combat Rogue or Fire Mage get all of their cooldowns out of the way at the very, very beginning and allow us to hold that threat. Bloodbath, I don't foresee us getting because it does count on special attacks. And yes, our Devastate and everything else do count as special attacks, but I don't think it's going to be enough to generate enough threat to actually let stuff stick on us. It's more of a DPS talent. An Avatar, I can foresee us getting if there's going to be a if there's going to be a case of the boss is going to toss out a movement impairing effect on us, like a slow or something like that, and we've got to move. But then again, that's also why we could get Safeguard. But yeah, I foresee us mostly getting Stormbolt for level 90, tanking at least. Like, as I just said, I will go ahead and make a video for level 90 for both Fury and Protection. I'm still thinking about whether I want to do arms or not. But yeah. I believe I already touched on this. Let me just recap. For single target tanking, we're going to be using our Devastate, Shield Slam, Revenge, and Thunderclap as often as possible. I've even started to use Heroic Throw in my rotation, just when I don't have anything else to pop, and it's just between Devastate and Heroic Throw. Heroic Throw is pretty nice. I'm not going to lie. We're also going to be Thunderclapping for single target, use our Deadly Calm as often as possible for single target, and yeah, that's really it. For AoE tanking, we're going to be casting our Thunderclap as often as possible. We're going to be Tab Target, Shield Slam, and Devastating, as well as Revenging. We're going to be Cleaving as often as possible, and using Deadly Calm as often as possible as well, so that way we can continue to get more cleaves out. For, Shield Barrier, Shield Block, that's all kind of situational. If you're going to be getting, say 70k hit, and then two, couple 20k hits, go with Shield Barrier to absorb that 70k hit. If you're going to be hit, 70k 5 times in a row, use Shield Block, so that way you block most of that damage instead of absorbing one and maybe dodging and parrying the others. Because at least when you're blocking, you block a lot of the damage versus all of, absorbing a lot of the damage, if that makes any sense at all. And, we'll also be using Shield Block and Shield Barrier for AoE, but for for AoE at least, I would say use Shield Barrier more often, because that'll just reduce the damage you take and make the healer's job less stressful. That's it, guys. If I left anything out, I'm sorry. As I said, I will go ahead and make a level 90 video once I hit 90 and I've tanked and done other stuff. You know, see what works, see what doesn't, all of that fun stuff. In the description below, you may notice there's a Twitter link. Go ahead, follow me. Well, follow the channel on Twitter. It's just going to be, you know, hey, new video's up. Go check it out. It's nothing, you know, not spam or anything else. And that's it, guys. My name is Ben Shot as well with Strata Gaming. I will talk to you guys next time.